different form. It's a virtual mode program now, which is going on. So once again, I would like to welcome all of you to this session. And I'm very sorry for the delay in timing, for the change in timing, because I had other engagement which suddenly came up. But anyway, I will try to make this 1 hour really productive for everyone, so that maybe, you can take back something that is of value and that is going to prove to be very fruitful to you in your classroom. So we will begin now. So the topic, as you can see, is how to make English language teaching more effective and fruitful. When we talk about outcome of anything, there is a lot to do, but the outcome is important. So if we are English language teachers, we need to ensure that we are effective English language teachers, that we cater to the audience that we have in our classrooms every day. So it's very important, first of all, to respect and understand the role that all of us play. So for that reason, I always like to introduce myself as a Mason. I think more than a teacher, more than somebody being in a profession, and I hate to call it a job, I am a Mason. I like to build windows in the wall. Why do I like to build windows in the wall? So that my students can have a view, a better landscape of learning outside. It is very important for us as teachers to get the real life scenarios from their lives into the classrooms. Now, with the new normal, all of us are teaching virtually. It is very challenging for teachers to create that ambience. But nevertheless, we are trying. All of us are trying. And the proof is in the pudding. All of you are present right here in your homes. We have lost a lot of people. We have lost our near and dear ones. Yet we are here doing our work, catering to our students, our children, who do not deserve this world, the world that we have created for them. It's a very, very gloomy scenario, as you can say. So it is our duty to make our teaching very productive so that their learning becomes productive. All right. So I'm going to expand my screen. I might not be able to see you all because my screen, when I present a PowerPoint, it doesn't show the audience. So anyway, I hope if there's any problem, please unmute your mic and let me know so that I can know if there's any problem in the presentation. Okay. All right, so let me just begin with the slideshow. So this is the topic. I'm a teacher, as he has already introduced, Mr. Abdul Salam has already. This is the overview of today's program. This is what I want to talk about today. I'm going to talk about the learners that we deal with every day, the different kind of learning styles. Then what are the things that we teach when we want to make our students proficient in language learning? One is vocabulary, the other is grammar and comprehension skills. If we as teachers have a good command, good control over these tools, the way we present these tools to the students, our teaching can be hoped to be very productive. All right, so this is the overview that is we are going to do today. Now, my favorite quote, and I think all of you must have gone through it, must have read this. Them here refers to our children. Tell them, they will forget. Show them, they always remember. But if you involve them, if you engage them, then rest assured, understanding is super. So it's very important to engage students. Whatever work we do in the classroom, instead of just giving a lecture, if we engage them, it will really be very, very productive. That is when their understanding will be concrete, tangible, concrete. So this quote is very dear to me. I always share it with my colleagues. I want to talk about something which we all term as communication skills. Now, as teachers, what is it that we do? We talk about the communication skills that we need to make our students proficient in speaking good English, writing good English, being able to listen and understand to what people say in English, right? So, and or be able to read in English. So here, this concept of communication skills comes in. But I must tell you that just enhancing communication skill doesn't work. Making effective communication is the mantra today. Just communication does not work. Effective communication works. So I have these two columns. This is a task for you, okay? I have these two columns here, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have A, B, C, D, E. I have some phrases in the first column and some phrases in the second column. And they're all jumbled up. What you have to do is mix them and see what goes with, okay. All right. Okay. So if you read the first one, please help me, I am blind. Okay. So you have to guess what will go with it, which is a better way of saying it. Okay. So I would like you to put your answers in the chat box. The chat box is a super tool, I think. You know, when we do virtual teaching, when we teach our students online, the chat box is like the blackboard where everything goes in, right? So I would want you to do this. And I would also like to tell you a little incident. It is the story of a blind beggar boy who could not see properly, okay, who did not have vision, and he couldn't see. Every morning, the blind beggar boy would sit at the corner of the street, spread out his mat. There would be a bowl in front of him, you know, an empty bowl, and a little placard on the side on which was written, "Please help me, I am blind." Now people would walk across. Some people would just read and then just go. You know what the level of empathy today is. Everybody is so engaged, so involved in their own personal battles that they don't have time for others. But there would be some good souls who would throw in a rupee or a 10 rupee note in the bowl, or maybe a few coins in the bowl. And that little boy, who was barely 12 years old, would sit with a very gloomy expression. Have you seen the face of that smiley? The upside down one, you know, like this. And he would sit there. So one day a man came to him and he said, "My dear boy, every day I see you sitting with such a glum expression, such a forlorn expression, such a sad expression on your face. I never see you happy. Why are you not happy?" This was a very silly question, but the boy said, "Sir, can't you see I am blind? What do I have to be happy about? I don't have the sense of sight and you're asking me this question." So the man smiled and he said, "All right, do you have a wish?" So the boy said, "Sir, you ask crazy questions." The man said, No, please tell me, do you have a wish?" And the boy said, "Yes, I am hungry and I want to go across. There is a McDonald's outlet, I think, because I can smell the aroma of burgers, and I want to go and eat those burgers." So the man said, "All right, you are going to go in for a treat tomorrow, I can assure you." And then the man said, "I'm going to write something on your placard." So the man took that placard, and what was written on the placard? "Please help me, I am blind." And the man on the other side wrote something else on it, and he put it up there and went away. Now the next morning, when this man came, he saw that the boy was smiling, and now the smiley was like this, smiling. He was very happy. So the boy said, "Sir, what did you do? You are a magician. You have superpowers. Today, I have a lot of money. People came and talked to me. Some even sat here and talked to me." So the man said, "Yes, I knew that." So the boy said, "Sir, please tell me, what is it that you wrote? First you tell me, and then we will go across and we will go and have a treat. Both of us will eat burgers." And the man said, "Can you guess what was written on the placard? Can anybody guess? It is there in this task that I've given you." That man had written, yes, Arshad, it's a beautiful day and I cannot see it. Now look at this sentence. It's a beautiful day and I cannot see it. Please help me, I am blind. Both these sentences point to the fact that the boy is blind. But the second sentence touched a chord in the people's heart. It made them stop. It made them think. It made them reflect. It made them reach out. They went ahead and talked to the boy and helped him financially. This is what good communication is. The what and how of communication. All of us know what to say. All of us know what to teach as teachers. But how many of us know how to say things, how to teach things? You prepare a dish at home, let's say arhar ki dal, and if you just go and serve it like that, people will maybe enjoy it. But if you garnish it well, give it a tadka and everything, people are going to enjoy it more. They're going to talk about it. They will always remember the flavor. That is what effective communication is. So it is our duty as teachers to make sure that when we teach, we are not only catering to the intelligence of the child, we are also catering to the emotional quotient of the child. That is where the difference between IQ and EQ comes in. IQ stands for intelligence quotient. EQ stands for emotional quotient. Sometimes we forget because as teachers also there's a lot of stress on us. Finishing the syllabus on time, checking copies, giving feedback, writing your lesson plan diaries and all that. There is so much on our minds all the time. A teacher is a teacher all the time, even at home. So this is what happens. So it's very important that we cater to the emotional quotient of the child, that we work on enhancing all the sensibilities of the child, the sense of touch, sight, smell, everything, all senses, so that we can take the child from the level of the sense to the level of sensibility. That's important. Any book can make a child intelligent. Any book can help a child to enhance senses, but only a teacher can reach out and help a child to acquire sensibilities. That requires little effort. Okay, so have you been able to do this? I'm not able to see the chat box right now, but please help me. I am blind. Yes, you've got the right answer. Now look at the word sit down. Please take a seat. We also call it euphemistic language. Sometimes when we say something, we say it in a way that it leaves an impact. Leave the door open, leave the door ajar. Now look at the word ajar. This is where vocabulary comes in. Myself Banta. I've seen a lot of people introducing themselves like this. Myself Banta from Kanpur. But this is grammatically incorrect. Whenever we introduce, I've seen people who have very good communication skills, who have good proficiency level in English, speaking like this, they sometimes say, myself Banta, myself so-and-so. But that is grammatically incorrect. If you want to introduce yourself, you say, I am so-and-so, or my name is so-and-so, or people call me so-and-so. But myself is grammatically incorrect. Give me your book. Please hand me your book. So see, there's a difference in the way these things are said. So that is what the how of communication is. All right, now, okay. Now, the very first rule as a teacher that we need to know is, who are we catering to? Who are our learners? In our class, if you see a teacher enters the classroom, you will see 30 to 40, sometimes even 50 students sitting in a classroom. But one size shoe does not fit everyone. We have different kinds of ability levels in the classroom. It is very important to first see who all are there, who we are teaching. So Howard Gardner came up with this theory of multiple intelligences. He said that there are around he shortlisted 8 multiple intelligences in the classroom. We teachers need to know that. And we also need to check what kind of an intelligence does a child have in the classroom. You have a lot of tools on the internet which allow you to test your intelligence. One child can have 4 or 5 intelligences, different kind. I'll be talking about intelligences. One child can have two, child can have just one, and there might be somebody who might have all 8 intelligences. So Howard Gardner said that in a classroom, you have visual spatial learners. Now you can see this, the yellow eye here, visual spatial learners. Visual spatial, as the name suggests, these are those learners who learn if you show them lots of, visuals, clip arts, drawings, paintings, images. They learn by looking at these visuals. Haven't you ever noticed a child goes and watches a film, comes back and narrates the entire story to his friends, because visually it has impacted him. But sometimes if you give a book to a child to read, he might, just read and may forget. So visual spatial learners learn when you use these kind of visual tools in the classroom. A lot of images in the classroom. Then Howard Gardner talked about linguistic learner. A linguistic learner is also called a word-friendly learner. Somebody who learns by reading. These are, normally you will find, these are very, loner kind of students who like to sit on their own. They will have books in their hands. They love to go to the library. So they are word-friendly learners. Padhaku jinko hum bolte hain. So these are the linguistic learners. Then Howard Gardner talked about the logical mathematical learner. Who are these logical mathematical learners? They are very analytical by nature. You give them quizzes to do, they will do them really fast. These learners have a very analytical mind. They are technically very sound. So you have these kinds of students in the classroom. Then he talked about naturalist learners. Naturalist learners, learners who learn from nature. They look at things around in nature and they learn. That is why it is very important to get the outside into the inside. Whatever is there outside the boundaries of the classroom, it's very important to get that inside the classroom too. So maybe you can have activities that would allow you to do that. We can also talk about how to do these activities virtually. You have bodily kinesthetic learners. Bodily kinesthetic learners are very physically very active. Engage them in games. Ye kya hua? Oh, what is happening? I just got this message. Oh, am I there? Suddenly the screen went blank. So I was just wondering. So engage them in activities, make them do a lot of games and all, and they learn through games. So you have, if you want to teach them language skills can be taught through games. And I'm sorry, because we have only 1 hour time. So I did not even, ask to introduce you because it would have taken time. But maybe in future, if we meet again, we will definitely do that. You have interpersonal learners and intrapersonal learners. Interpersonal learners, they love to work in groups. They love to do project works together. And today, as you can see, you have to give projects to students where they have to go and interact with others, because this is an era of collaborative learning. So interpersonal learners, they learn from each other. That is why as teachers also, it is very important that we give them enough space in the classroom, activities in the classroom, in which they can have peer talks, in which they can have group talks, that they learn. Teacher can be a facilitator. You can stand and observe your students, give them tasks like these, and they learn really fast. But sometimes they need their own space too. And this is where intrapersonal learners come in. For example, giving them homework, which they do at home. Of course, they do it on their own. So these are the, I wonder why, there's one more learner. It's not mentioned here, but that makes it 9. So actually, there are a lot of multiple intelligence, but Howard Gardner has talked about only these. A musical learner, one of my favorite kinds of learners in the classroom. Musical learners learn from rhythm. Now, if you're teaching classes, what classes are you teaching? I think you're teaching classes 5, 6, up to 10. Okay, so you will notice, you can put your answers in the chat box. So when you teach young learners, there are lots of rhymes and all. There are lots of poems and all that you teach them that have a sense of rhythm. Not just that, when you are teaching them pronunciation skills, any word and how it is pronounced, that is where you use rhythm. I do an activity and I'll tell you how I do it in class. I was teaching my students what syllables are and how words should be pronounced. For example, the word table. Table. How many sounds does the word have? Table. Table. 2 sounds. How many sounds does the word lamp have? Lamp. 1 sound. How many sound does the word communication have? Can you all try that by clapping and check and tell me? Communication. Communication. 5 sounds. Communication has 5 sounds. How many sounds does the word bottle have? Bottle. 2 sounds. Bottle. So clapping using the rhythm is a good way to teach syllables to students. And then you teach them there is a stress on 1 syllable and the rest of the syllables are unstressed. For example, when we say communication, we always say communication. We don't say communication. So the way we pronounce a word, communication, mu has the stress on it. Table, te has the stress on it. Balloon, loon has the stress on it. Okay? So rhythm can be used to teach pronunciation, to teach syllables, to teach poetry, to teach rhyming scheme. And if you notice, all of us use rhythm all the time. If you look at yourself within, that is inside you, our heartbeat is rhythmic. Our digestive system, there is peristalsis inside our body. Our respiratory system, the blood circulating, and the circulatory system, the blood circulating, everything follows a rhythm. The fluttering of our eyelashes follows a rhythm. Now look at the world outside. Look at the seasons. They follow a rhythm. Look at the day and night. That is rhythmic. So we have rhythm in our lives. Why can't we teach rhythm? Why can't we teach language skills through rhythms? So as I said, we have these kinds of multiple intelligences in the classroom. It is very important that we identify students who have these intelligences and plan our lessons in a way that we cater to at least 2 or 3 intelligences at a time. Of course, we can't have a lesson plan with all 8 intelligences, but maybe in one lesson plan, you can have 2 intelligences. In the other lesson plan, you can cater to maybe the other 2. So that way you cover everything. It's very important to know your learners, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Now, coming to the teaching of vocabulary. Vocabulary is related to the power of words. This is a nice quote and I want to share it with you. We think in language. We think in words. Language is the landscape of our thoughts. So language shapes our reality. Now, I don't know what is wrong with my laptop today because I have to keep juggling from the PowerPoint to the screen. So anyway, if you have any questions, please unmute your mic and ask me because I'm not able to see you when I'm looking at my PowerPoint, okay? So now, as I told you, that we are going to look at three aspects of teaching, English language teaching: vocabulary, grammar, and comprehension. So coming to vocabulary first. Now, a child, if you see, how a child learns language. So you need to give examples in the classroom, lots of examples. See, one word may have multiple meanings. So you need to introduce all those words. Now, looking at this quotation, if you look at the bygone era, when there was the prehistoric man, do you think there was no communication then? How did people communicate? There was no language then. I think it was a different kind of a language then. It was based on sounds. Think of Tarzan. Think of the cave people. They did line drawings. So people did communicate. Even if you go to an era of, we won't call it an era of communication void. It was an era of a different kind of communication. But today, language has evolved and it is still evolving. If you look at English today, we talk about British English and we talk about American English. American English is a friendly English, as we say. British English is a rigid English. But now even the Britishers, they've shaken hands with informality and they have started becoming more flexible today. There was a time when they would not accept anything. That is why, we always called it Queen's English, received pronunciation, Queen's pronunciation, because it was considered to be perfect. The people did not want to give away their language, but today it's a different scenario. The Americans are using English very, very fluently and in a very friendly manner. So that is why, even the Britishers, they felt that now, we need to be more flexible. So English is like a flowing river. It keeps taking in whatever comes its way, and it keeps becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So that is what the flexibility in language today is. I wanted to share with you, can you get me a glass of water, please? I wanted to share with you a project I did with my students, and you can also do it. It was called English, English Everywhere. Look around, you'll find it there. That was a very long title of this project. And I have students from very resource poor environment, I should say. They come from families that have financial problems. These are all access students. We call them access students. It is a program run by the American Center specifically for these students. But they are such lovely children and they have this great desire to learn English. So how do we introduce them to vocabulary? This is an example of how to help students enhance their vocabulary. Ask the students to carry a notepad or a diary, and they must note down all the words in English when they come from their homes to school. Now, these days in a virtual world, you can just ask them to look around. Thank you. You can just ask them to look around and then note down the words in English that they see all around. Ask them to go to the balcony and peep out and see if they can find anything in English, any kind of a signboard or anything that. So children would get all those words. Another thing that I asked them to do was that every day they buy things from the market. It may be a packet of cookies, it may be a packet of chips, maybe medicines, maybe, a bag or a dress, or whatever, vegetables. So those things come in wrappers. They have a lot of things. Oh, I think only the other day, see, this was something that I found this, and it came with something. It came with a jar of jam that I had bought. And I kept this. Now, this is a very good teaching resource. These kind of things. So I asked students also to get them. So they came up with wrappers of toothpaste, things that they bought, and we made a collage in the classroom. Now when children, some children got these wrappers of medicines. Now on those wrappers, there were words like manufacturing date, expiry date. Some packets of chips and all had ingredients. Now look at all these words. These are words that children don't normally find in their lives because the mother tongue influence is so strong. People don't speak in English at home. But these were the words that they became familiar with. We made a collage of those words on the walls. And then I asked students to create stories. Select 2 words, your favorite words from the collage. Now let's make up a story. So they would come up with 2 words and they would make up instant stories. 2-minute tales over tea. 2-minute tales over coffee. We would have some nice, maybe coffee or beverage. I would tell them that have your coffee ready in front of your screens and you can tell me stories and at the same time sipping coffees. That is a virtual one that I'm talking about. But in the classroom also you can have whenever we resume our teaching in the classroom. So this project was very successful and it's still going on. Any new batch that comes, we have this project called English, English Everywhere. Look around, you will find it there. So this helps in vocabulary enhancement. There are many other ways of enhancing vocabulary, which I will show you in the next slide. Okay, let's do a little activity first. I want you to think of a letter. It can be any letter. It can be from A to Z, any letter. Think of a letter. Do you have your notepads in front of you? Anything to write with? If you have that, please have it. Okay? Anything to write with. So just write down. It can be A, it can be S, it can be Y, any letter. Think of a letter. Now, yes, Beena. Okay, S. Beena's thought of S. I want you to write it down somewhere. Okay? Now, I want you to think of a name with that letter. Any name beginning with that letter. Okay, have you got it? You can note that down. Now, I want you to think of an adjective with that letter. Any adjective. If anyone has any problem, let's say if you have the letter X or something like that, then you can always share it. You can ask your colleagues here, put it in the chat box that please help me find an adjective with this letter. Think of an adjective. Have you got it down? If you've got it down, you can just show me a thumbs up. You can just show me a thumbs up if you've got it. I want you to think of a place beginning with that letter. Yes, Monisha. Think of a place beginning with that letter. Okay. Now, I want you to think of, maybe I will add another thing here, fruit or a vegetable. I'm giving you one more option. A fruit or a vegetable that begins with that letter. A fruit or a vegetable that begins with that letter. And finally, a place. Oh, place we've already got. That's okay. A fruit or you can cut the sixth one. So we have 5. Okay. This is an extra one. I can just cut this one. Okay. Right now it's not working, but I will do that. Now you have 5. You have not 5, but maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 words on your diaries, right? 4 words. The first one is just a letter. Now you have to construct a sentence, just one single sentence, where you use all these 4 words. One single sentence that makes sense, and you use all these 4 words. You can put that in the chat box. Okay. Can I see a few? Or maybe you can just unmute your mic and read it out. Just tell me your name first, and then you can read that out. Yes, anybody would like to volunteer to speak up? You can unmute your mic and speak. Just read out that full sentence. All right. Ramla ma'am. Yes. Yes, Ramla ma'am. Can we have that sentence? Yeah, anybody?
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, sir.
Yes.
First, the madam asked to write a name using the
Yes.
letter. Then third one, a place. And fourth one is finished. But second one, I couldn't recognize, sir, madam.
Okay.
What did
Okay.
you say?
What is the letter that you have chosen?
D.
D, the letter D.
A,
Now
B,
you are
C,
thinking,
D.
okay.
D.
Okay. So do you have a name with the letter D?
Yes.
Okay. What is the name?
Dilip.
Dilip. Okay. Do you have an adjective with the letter D?
No.
Okay. Can anyone help? Can anyone help with an adjective that begins with letter D? An adjective is a describing word.
Okay. Adjective.
Yeah, that's adjective. Yes. Dashing. Diligent. Debonair. Delightful. Yes, that's right. Delightful.
Adjective, I didn't understand.
Dangerous.
Okay.
That's an interesting one. Now you can get it, right? Okay. So that was Sheetal speaking?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Sheetal, you can construct a sentence, right?
Sometimes you may laugh when you hear my sentence. Fourth one was vegetable, isn't it, ma'am?
Yes.
Dilip Dilip brought some drumsticks from Dubai.
Okay. Dilip brought some drumsticks from Dubai. Now you can add an adjective. Diligent Dilip or dashing Dilip brought some drumsticks from Dubai. Okay. So now
Delightful.
what are you doing? See, you are helping them. You are teaching new words to your students. So vocabulary is being enhanced. If it is a senior class, you can tell them that they are using alliterations. That is for senior classes because then they start learning about alliterations, repetition of sounds and all. So this is just a way of telling you that this is a very simple game, but it helps students to enhance their vocabulary. They come up with new words, they come up with new ideas, and they share a lot of ideas. So it was very good. Sheetal shared this query here, and then she read it out. So you can have this activity in the classroom. Anybody else would like to share? Okay, then we'll move on. Okay, you can ask your students you can do this activity in the classroom. Now, this is something that is, again, I would call it very technical, because there are certain terms that we teachers must know. Factors that affect vocabulary learning. When you are teaching them vocabulary, I wonder where that slide got lost, but there are lots of techniques to teach them vocabulary. Like what we were doing right now can also be termed as scaffolding. You scaffold words. Now here we are talking about two registers. Now here the word register. We are all familiar with the registers that we write in. But register also has different meanings. If I say, oh, has it registered in your mind? That means has it internalized in your mind, or have you been able to understand? That is also register. Register also has another meaning. The style of language, grammar, and words is also called register. Here, the two registers that are really important are BICS and CAL. Any English language teacher must know these two words. BICS stands for Basic Interpersonal Communication Skills, and CAL stands for Cognitive Academic Language Proficiency. Heavy words, I know. But these two words have been mentioned in TESOL too. When we are teaching our students to speak in English, in the classroom, the scenario is very informal. So we are actually teaching them basic interpersonal communication skills. Good morning, students. How are you doing today? How's your family? How's your mom? What have you got in your lunch today? So these are very informal ways of speaking when you are just basically engaging students in interpersonal communication. This is easy to learn. But as a child comes to higher classes, you also need to teach them formal ways of speaking, letter writing, formal letter writing, report writing, article writing, So as I said, from sense to sensibility, you are taking the child, holding on the finger of the child and teaching him more complex things. This is where cognitive academic language proficiency comes in. This is where the child has to use the brain. Cognitive is always related to the brain. Academic language proficiency, the language proficiency that is there, that's a part of academics and which a child is going to use formally. Okay, so I wouldn't say like a class 2 or a 3 or a 4 class child need to be very concerned about this. But yes, 5 onwards, 6, 7, 8, when children start writing, maybe little notices and all, little formal invitations and all, then this is where this comes in. Also, what are the fact? Now, this is important because in the classroom, the teacher has to deal with this BICS, and even at home, basic intercommunication skills are enhanced because children are also communicating with their family members. Then age is also an important factor. Some children learn things very easily from a very early age. Some children take some time to. So this is where early literacy comes in, the readiness to read. And this is where the role of the parents is very important. That is why in a classroom, when you look at your children, you have to have a triangle in your mind. That triangle where all the 3 ends have 3 people. On one end is you as a teacher. On the other end is the child. And the third point is for parent. So it's a very important thing to have parents also as a part of their whole learning process. That is why parent-teacher meetings are important. It's very important to keep consulting the parents. Then another factor that's important is exposure. What kind of an exposure level do your children have? Do they have that kind of an exposure in their families? Sometimes it is not there. So what kind of an exposure is needed in the school? You need to expose them to a lot of reading material, a lot of samples of English. All that is very important. Then comes the role of the mother tongue. There are children who find it very difficult, to understand anything in English. And so what happens is they keep jumping to mother tongue. Have you faced this problem in your classes? You ask them in English, they won't understand, they start speaking in their own native language. The influence of mother tongue, that comes in. Yes, Shahul. So that is there. So we need to ensure that, there is enough scope for the child. There are two schools of thought here actually. There is one school of thought that says if you're teaching them English, please insist only on English. They must not use the mother tongue. But there's another school of thought that says begin with the mother tongue, then move on to English. I believe in the second one. You cannot take away a child's, those approaches and attitudes that have been ingrained in the child right from the beginning. So the mother tongue is important. If there is a problem, a child not able to understand, I always help the child with the mother tongue. I had a student who today, qualified the civil services, but when I was teaching him in school, he came from Bihar. He had a tough time writing anything in English. He just could not understand. He came to me and he said, Madam, हमको हिंदी में सिखा दीजिए, please. I said, तुम English हिंदी में सीखोगे? He said, Madam, हमको नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, please कुछ भी करिए. So then I thought, I have my friend in my university, she is a Hindi teacher. We are very close. I said, you need to help me out here because my Hindi is just okay. And that child learned English through Hindi. He would come, get his book and his writing, and he would say, just write down the meanings of these words in Hindi for me. So I started doing that. All the comments that I would write would be in Hindi. इसको ऐसे करो, यहाँ पे ये use करो, punctuation ऐसा लगाओ, so that the child would understand what I was trying to say. And believe me, he really did so well. So from 30%, he reached on to 60, 70, and then 80% in English. So he was able to do that. And he cleared his civil services examinations. I'm so happy for him. So the influence of mother tongue is important. And finally, one very important thing is motivation. It's very important for a teacher to keep motivating the child. Without motivation, things don't work. It's really, really important. Okay, these are some of the ways how to teach vocabulary. One is called, the first one, scaffolding. The other is scaffolding is supporting ideas. Like you give them a word. Sometimes, I ask my students to make vocabulary charts in a way. They scaffold a lot of ideas. I make a circle on the blackboard and I write the keyword there. For example, I write the word school and on a circle. Then I ask the child, think of other things that you will find in a school, make a petal and write that word there. Keep adding petals for different words. So school, a child would write class, duster, teacher, playground, library. And that is how a flower would take shape. A flower would be born. And I said, if you have the more number of petals you have, the better your scaffolded ideas are. Children did that. Brainstorming is another way. When you give them a word and you don't give them time and just say, come up, I'll say black. What is it that comes to your mind? A child would say night. Somebody would say hair. Somebody would say chocolate or whatever. So that is how you brainstorm ideas. Then another technique is called web mapping, where you teach them, whenever I teach any lesson in the classroom, we always begin with web mapping. There are characters in a story. Let's say a story has a character of a selfish giant. So I would draw a circle and write selfish giant. And then I would say, write down, as we read, write down the words that describe the giant. And the children would draw those lines and they would keep writing that down. So that is how we did web mapping of entire lessons. Then another technique is multimodality. Multimodality refers to the usage of LSRW. As ELT teachers, I'm sure all of you know that. What is LSRW? Listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So when you teach a word to a child, try to use all these skills, all these basic fundamentals. They must learn the word by writing. They must learn the word by listening. They must learn the word by speaking. So you are using a multi-modality approach here. Okay, so at least 4 to 10 registers are important. 4 to 10 ways, or maybe, so that they can learn a word through different kind of registers. And again, visuals are very important. Flashcards and visuals, these are important to teach any vocabulary or any skill to a child. Now, I want to talk about these 3 domains. Words become tangible when they pass through these 3 domains. What are these 3 domains? These are areas inside a child. When you are working on a child, you are enhancing the overall personality of a child. So the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains, these are very important. I think when we were talking about CALP, cognitive academic language proficiency, the word cognitive came in. Cognitive always deals with the mind. Affective deals with the heart. And psychomotor deals with the muscles, the muscular powers. Okay? So the heart, the mind, and the muscles. These 3 things in a child need to be very, very activated. The cognitive domain, anything that requires analysis. What is happening is that we teachers are so engaged in enhancing the cognitive domain that we forget sometimes about the affective domain. This is where moral values come in. This is where empathy comes in. This is where a child learns to be sensitive. This is very important. Now is are you all taking classes online? Are you taking classes online? Okay. So online classroom setup, sometimes children don't open their, they don't switch on their cameras. Okay, I think all of you are taking online classes. Yes, of course, because this is what is needed. So they don't open their cameras, and sometimes we don't even know if they're sitting there. So it is important that you engage them in some kind of an activity, like the activity I did, clapping and teaching them syllables, something where you know that they are using their muscles. Maybe you can ask them to do gestures, have warm-up activities in the classroom. Tell them that I'm going to say a word and you have to imitate. You have to gesture it. Fly like a bird, and students will fly they will do this gesture. Okay. See something far away, and the students will do like this. Okay. Eat something, and the student would do like this. So the words see, eat, write, fly, all these words require enhancement of psychomotor domains. So it's important that even in a visual world, we cater to this domain. Okay? All right. So yes, this again, when we are talking about vocabulary, all these words in red that I have written, all these are important because teaching them vocabulary is helping them with all these things: sound, structure and form, arrangement of words, meanings, functions, and use. I don't want you to go into too much of, those technical words, phonology, morphology, syntax and all. But these are the things, all of us as teachers, we are helping them do this. We begin with sounds of letters. So if you are a teacher who's teaching very young students, we don't just teach them alphabets like A, B, C, D. We also teach them A for apple, A says A, B for ball, B says B. What are the sounds of those letters? It's important that we teach them that. This is what is phonology. Structure and form, how they should write. An apple begins with an A, and A has a slanting line this way, and then two slanting lines and one sleeping line. So the form of words, then arrangement of words, how to use that word in a sentence. So this is how you begin. Meanings of words. What is an apple? An apple is a fruit. Functions, using it in different contexts. An apple is red in color, it is green. So it's important that you teach a child what the context is. See, what is happening is whenever we are teaching vocabulary, we tell the child the meaning of the word. But that is only the content that we are teaching. That content has to be contextualized. You have to use that word in multiple sentences and ask the child to use the word in multiple sentences so that a child can go from content to context. That's important. You are helping the child contextualize. The process of contextualization is happening. See, we as teachers are all the time doing a very technical work in the classroom. Sometimes we don't realize, but this is what is happening. So that is why it's not important to just tell the child the meaning and then forget about it. What is important is contextualize the word, give different meaning, give different sentences. That's important. Okay. So as teachers, if we are effectively teaching them vocabulary, we are doing all this. We are dealing with phonology, morphology, semantics, all that, pragmatics. We are doing all that. We are all doing a very complex job. Okay. Now we're coming to the next part of this session. What is organization? Because it will take you to the grammar portion. Okay, how to teach grammar communicatively. Any idea what organization is? Can anyone define organization? What is organization? If you have a box of crayons with scattered crayons lying here and there, and that box looks very untidy, you need to arrange it in an order so that there is organization in the box. I will tell you a little incident. There was a boy who, again, it's a story of let's call him John. John died. I'm beginning the story with a death. John died and the angel came down to take him up. So he asked John, what is your wish? And John said, I want to see hell and heaven first before God assigns me a place. So the angel said, all right, come on, I'll show you. And up they went, up above the clouds they went. And the angel took him to a place above the clouds. It was a big blue colored door. And the angel said, come on, come inside. They went inside. And do you know what they saw inside? There was a long rectangular table with chairs on either side. And in the middle of the table, at regular intervals, were big tubs of chicken soup. There was soup in the tub. And in front of each chair was a spoon. A spoon which had a very long ladle. You know what a ladle of the spoon is? This part of the spoon which you hold. So the ladles were very long. Very long. And it was an empty room. But then a bell rang. And the angel and John saw people coming in. They were looking very hungry. They were looking very tired. It was as though, they just wanted to eat. They all came in and all they did was they were looking at food and they just wanted. Second bell rang, they all sat down. Third bell rang for eating. They lifted their spoons and hungrily started devouring it. What was happening? The ladles were very long. The ladles clashed with the spoons of the neighbors. And as a result, all the soup spilled. Nothing could go into their mouths. And what happened when they could not fill their stomachs? They became more agitated. They started hitting each other with their spoons. They started tearing their hair and they started shouting at each other. It was utter chaos. There was no organization there. And John said, oh, I think this is hell. Come on, let's quickly go out. We'll go to a place that's more organized. So the angel took him to another room. It had the same kind of a setup, same kind of a table. People came in, they sat down. But do you know what they did? They did not take the spoon into their mouth. They started feeding the person who was sitting across. Now what was happening? The spoons did not clash. They lifted the soup and they started feeding the person who was sitting across. So the spoons did not clash. Everybody could eat. They talked of happy things. They talked of their, families and everyone. It was a very happy scene. There was organization. That organization is important. And that organization comes with your cognitive ideas, your affective ideas, when you feel for people. Okay, so that's important. And that is what grammar does to language. I'm on the second shortage of time, so I have to really rush. But anyway, so that's what grammar does to anything that we when we teach language. Now, teaching grammar communicatively is very important. David Crystal has defined grammar as the business of taking a language to pieces to see how it works. So when you're teaching them, let's say, parts of speech, give them a sentence. Let's say, Johnny had a delicious cake. Johnny had a delicious cake. Now, you tell the students, which is the proper noun here? Johnny. What is delicious? Adjective. Cake, common noun. So that is how you break up language into pieces. You're teaching them grammar. Is grammar only rules? What came first, the rules or the language? We already talked about the language in the prehistoric times. Language evolved from sounds. Sounds became words. Words became sentences and phrases. So finally, what is grammar? Grammar is a mental system of rules that allows us to add organization to our language and the way we express it. So I hope this definition is clear to you. I want you to have a look at some of these examples that have grammatical errors in them. Let's eat grandma. I like cooking my family and my pets. We're going to learn to cut and paste cakes. Slow children crossing. Eat shoots and leaves. So what is the errors? What is the error here? Punctuation errors. I like cooking my family and pets. It is as though, you put your family into a bartan and you cook. No, I like cooking, comma, my family, comma, and my pets. Let's eat grandma. Now, nobody wants to eat grandma, but yes, you want to eat with grandma. So let's eat, comma, grandma. So these are examples of instances where grammar is faulty, and you have to ensure that your students don't make these mistakes. Okay, coming to the third part. Can I take a little, I'm just asking you, let me just come back to you. Is it okay if I take, it's already 6:31. Can I take 5-10 more minutes? Is it okay if I take 5-10 more minutes? Because comprehension part is left. Okay, all right. I know I'm going fast today. I can sense that. I'm really fast and I'm not engaging you, but time is less and the content is a lot. So I was just thinking if I can just take 10 more minutes. Thank you so much. So now coming to comprehension skills. Developing comprehension skills. No, we've already talked about vocabulary. We've talked about grammar. And I think 5 minutes we will take just to, if you have any questions, then I can answer them. Now coming to comprehension skills. Comprehension is the way you understand things. You have comprehension passages in your textbooks where the child reads the comprehension